Hello, YouTube nerdizzles. We're doing movable camera today. My lovely assistant, Leslie, behind the camera, will move it back and forth, and she has no idea what she's doing, so, bear with her. If you don't see anything, it's her fault. So, oh my god, we're doing the PXL Pro. This is gonna suck flying donkey balls. How you suck them while they're flying? Think about it. PXL Pro, complicated as hell. Well, yes and no. I actually had my friend Patrick over the other day, and he was like, I don't like loopers, blah, 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 blah. So I showed him how to program it, and he was like, yeah, I could do that. I actually think that would be cool for me. So maybe it's cool for you. I get a lot of questions. How do I program the PXL Pro? What about the trigger outs? Can they make coffee for me? I'm like, well, it really depends on if it's decaf or not. Of course they can't. I will try to explain to you what you can do with this looper. So I forgot to decable. Let me unplug things here for a bit. Okay. So let me show you the basic setup. We have a pedal board here, which I will show to you in detail in a minute. You brought some time, right? If not, hit the pause button, go get some coffee, and come back. And if you don't have time and you don't want to see me explain all this stuff in detail, go away, switch the channel, go to someone else. So, we've got a pedal board here using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pedals. And a 10th, which is a tuner, and actually a 12th, 11th, which is a spring reverb. And we're going into the Sir Badger, which is not a channel switchable amp. It is a one-channel amp, which I'm using to show you that you can use the triggers for much more than just switching the channels on your amp. It is important to understand, once you have worked your way through these amazing 2 pages of Chinese instructions, which have been translated into Chinese English for you. If you know what you're looking for, you can get the information from this. If you've never dealt with programming stuff, might get tricky. I mean, I studied keyboard programming, so I know my way around, an interface. But that's what I'm here for, so screw that. This is a 1/4 inch cable. Duh. The PXL Pro, also the PXL Live, they have 1/4 inch trigger outputs. This one has 4, the PXL Live has 2, because it also has MIDI, which gets a lot more complicated when we get to that. Now, if your amp has an input that can take a 1/4 inch cable for your channel switching, let me demonstrate. Foot switch. Let's see, are you getting this? Foot switch, which in German means different vagina. So, this is not whatever. It really does mean that. It's a 1/4 inch input. If your amp is something like the Diesel, which has, in my case, like a DIN or MIDI type cable, or anything proprietary, you might be A, shit out of luck to switch your amp with the PXL Pro, or B, have to spend a little bit of money and get someone to solder you a breakout cable from that proprietary switcher thingy, okay, to 1/4 inch connectors. Most amps will probably have a 1/4 inch input, and then you can switch it with this. Like the PRS amp, for example, has a foot switch like so. Follow me. You follow me? Are you right there? It is somewhere here. Here. Okay? This is the PRS foot switch. One cable, but it's a stereo cable. So all you need is an insert cable. What's an insert cable? An insert cable is a stereo cable breaking out to 2 mono cables. So you put the stereo cable into your PRS amp, going to 2 mono inputs on the PXL Pro, which means the PXL Pro will be able to do the channel and the reverb switching for you. Just like this La Boga channel and gain stereo cable, you get the idea. Just like this Blackheart channel 1-2 switching and FX boost, so you get the idea. If your amp is equipped with a 1/4 inch input, this is neat, huh? Isn't this cool? Kind of like, you know, drawers with lots of stuff in. Look at this stuff. Okay, we go over here. So, if you be so kind to kind of come a little bit closer. Come here, I don't bite. Come to Uncle Henning. Come on, Henning's last. Come on, it's nice, huh? It's nice right here, huh? It's nice, huh? No? Okay, she doesn't want to. So, the way I have it wired here, isn't this nice? Come on, this is pedalboard porn. All with my nice, really bendable summer cable, black Zilk. All sorted myself. Look at these tiny little cables. So, the way I have it wired up here is straight through 8 loops. So I'm not using it in the loop 1, loop 2 setup, which we will be doing in a second. Let me explain to you what I've done. Compared to the PXL 8 over here, this actually has one more 1/4 inch out here, which is for the tuner. Okay? Not tuna, that's fish. Tuner, which is smack here in the middle. And that's actually pretty neat. Right now, tuner is active. This cable is going straight to the tuner. You know, could be a crappy cable, who gives a flying rat's ass. And right now, sound is going through. You hit mute once, which activates the tuner, but it's not muted. Signal is still going through, so all your audience members can hear you tune. You hit it again, and it's actually muted. Nothing comes through. You can tune to your heart's delight. And that's it. On 3rd time, you're back in playing mode. Pretty simple. So the way I have it wired up, let me show you. We've got the Jetta Gold Standard, all on both sides in stacked mode, going into loop number 1, because it's a sexy pedal. Why am I yelling? Joyo Rate Boost, which is similar to like a very cool clean boost from a very exotic company, in loop 2. The Wild Boost, which is kind of not, they tried to kind of copy something here, which they kind of failed at, and came up with something cooler, which is a fuzzy kind of a boost. Very fuzzacious. I love it, and you will see this. That's in loop number 3. The AT drive, very creamy overdrive, with some nice gain reserves in loop number 4. So this is our drive section, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it's going into the more yellow comp, my favorite compressor so far. In loop number, 6, we got the choruses. And here's the thing that you have to remember. A loop is not just one pedal. A loop can be... someone's whistling. Hello, hello. Okay, I'm sexy, I know it. So a loop can be a combination of pedals. So what I can do is, before my song, I can say, I know I'm going to use a chorus, leave the chorus on. I know I'm going to use a tremolo, go to tremolo. Because this is a multi-effect modulation pedal from the Mod Factory, very nice. So you kind of switch your preset before your song, but then in your song you hit the switch and everything goes to it. I actually like it on Univibe with the chorus engaged, so that's kind of my clean setting. But remember, you can have a combination of effects in each loop. The next loop is the D-Seed from Joyo, which is a delay, and here it comes into play, with 2 settings. You have an A and a B setting, and you can save them. What I have now is on, don't ask me on that one, it's on modulation delay, and on we have it on an analog delay. So And after that comes the shimverb from more, just a little bit of room for some overdriven sounds. And back here, which you can't see on this camera, we've got the Carl Martin headroom, which is a spring reverb, an actual real spring in it, with 2 settings, okay? I actually can't switch right now. It has 2 settings. Let me see, here we go. So there's setting A and setting B. Okay, so Carl Martin was smart because they said this thing is kind of fidgety with the springs. You don't want to step on it, you don't really want to shake it around too much. And it's so freaking big. If I put this on the pedal board, it would be, full. So you have the option. You can come back, baby. It's fine. I'm here. They want to see me. Yeah, because I'm sexy. You have the option of putting this on stage behind your amp, on your amp, away from your pedal board. And it has 2 trigger inputs, which is where the triggers come in. It has 2 inputs for each of the switches. And you can remote control this pedal, which is cool. Because if we can remote control the bypass status of this pedal, I don't have to have it in any loop. I just remote control the on-off of the pedal, which means I just have it in series in the FX loop of the amp, and I remotely turn it on and off. So it's not actually using up any of my loops, which gives me, yes, a 9th loop. Get that? Okay, what we're doing now is, instead of going through all these pedals in series, we're going to put the drives in front of the SUR as my first 4 loops in front of the amp, which we do like so. Guitar in the input, and we're going to use, if I find where that cable ends up, amp loop 1 out. You of course might want to, put the cable under the board, but we're going to do it dirty now. So, and then these 4 pedals in loop 1 will be in front of the amp. Now, loop 2 in, you might have to follow me for this one. Milady? Come around. So loop 2 in is from the send of the SUR. This is a serial effects loop, so no parallel, no mix. So the send, oopsie, this is all stupid here. Where in the world? Hello. There it is. Okay, here. So the send of the SUR, I totally messed this up now. Yes. So the send of the SUR into the remaining pedals, which will be the comp, the choruses, the delay, and the shimverb, which are nicely situated in the effects loop. Obviously, we could now argue the compressor doesn't belong into the effects loop, and we could argue that the choruses don't belong in there. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're just going to put them there, and you're going to shut your smartass YouTube yapper. Because that's what we're doing. Okay? I am fully aware that you put a chorus, in front of your drive, behind your drive, whatever. That's what we're doing. So, and then this cable goes out of loop 2, back into the return of the SUR. So what we have done is we have inserted this section of the board, we're going to call it the left section, into the effects loop of the SUR. But before it goes back, it's running through the headroom. So I go out of loop 2, and as the very last pedal in the chain, we're going to go through the headroom and then back into the SUR. But it is not actually in a loop, it is actually inserted completely behind the whole pedal board. Okay? Which means it would always produce reverb. Well, no, it doesn't, because we have the triggers. So let's look at my trigger setup. Actually, let me check the camera. Oh, that is, wow. There we go. Okay, so the trigger setup. Trigger number 1 is going into the external switch input. Can you show that, Leslie? Thank you. It's going into the external switch input. Come closer, come closer, come closer. Mwah. The external switch input on the D seat. So it's going out here into the external switch. Trigger 2 is my bypass on the headroom. There. And trigger 4 is my reverb select A or B on the headroom. Okay, you can step back now. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing here. Now, that's complicated already. Let's sum it up. Take some shit, put it in front of the amp. Take other shit, put it in the loop of the amp if the pedals want it, like your time-based effects, delays, and reverbs. If your amp stays clean the whole time anyway, there's no need to put anything in the loop. Put everything in front of the amp. But if your amp is a 2-channel design and you can switch channels and you're going to distort a channel, it might make sense to put something in the loop, but you still have the option to use stuff in the effects loop of your amp and still switch it all with this, and also switch your amp if it has 1/4-inch inputs. Are we clear on this? Nod with me. Yes, say yes. I'm getting so many questions about this. So, Leslie, if you would, could you show our nerdy friends what I'm doing here? So, we got 8 banks. Do we have 8? Yes, we have 8 banks of 4 sounds. You switch with the banks. Very simple. So we want to program a sound, okay? We're gonna go to sound A, which right now is nothing but my first loop, which is the Jetta Gold Standard. Okay? On B, I have the Jetta Gold Standard with the DC delay, and check what happens. Only on sound B, the delay switches to the sound, let's call it sound A, because trigger number 1, which is indicated by the status LED here, trigger number 1 is telling it turn on. Okay? Clean so far? Talk about clean. Sound number C is my rated boost in front of the amp. In the effects loop of the amp, we have the D seat, but this time on the modulation delay, and the shim verb. Headroom is still in bypass. Sound number D is going into the compressor, the choruses, the delay, and the headroom turned on setting B. As you can see, status of loop number 2, which is the on-off of the headroom, is on, but status 4 is off, meaning I'm on sound B. If I now switch to sound 3C, it's just compressor, chorus, and headroom, but also on sound B. If I now switch to sound 3B, the headroom switches because trigger number 4 is also on. So I think you kind of get the general idea. My bank 2, for example, are all my drives. AT drive in the room, wild boost in the room, rated boost in the room, and the gold standard in the room, so I can nicely compare them. Let's go to 3A. What we have here is the rated boost, a compressor, and the room. Switching to just the compressor and a delay, but that's what you have to see here, with the headroom which is hidden behind the amp somewhere, or in this case right here. So let me show you how to program this puppy. We're going to go to an empty bank. Now, something that I found that they did on the PXL8, which they didn't do here. On the PXL8, an empty program means everything is empty. Well, here it's not. If I actually now switch to A, we have South American flute music. Can you see those Inca people with the ponchos? Going like, you know... No? Okay, well I can see that. So this is dumb. It's all on. So let's not do that. What you do is you hold down the mute button and it goes into program mode. High means these high. And you turn them off. You switch bank up to the low ones and that's your first thing you do. You turn all loops off. Okay? Then you go to triggers and I turn all triggers off. Okay? That's relatively easy to understand. You've got the high ones, 5 through 8. You've got the low ones, 1 through 4. You got the triggers, 1 through 4. A, B, C, D always corresponds to the 4 state switches. Now, then you've got an EB, which means, it's kind of neat, what are the triggers doing in bypass? Now, why would you want to switch anything in bypass? Let me save that. I'm on 5A, remember that. So let's say I'm right here, sound A, 1A. My first loop is on and I'm playing through the gold standard. Now I switch. Of course I want the gold standard to go into my clean channel, which makes sense, right? If I switch A again, see the blinky stuff? That means I'm in bypass. What if I want to change the channel on my amp to the distorted sound, but nothing else to happen? So I want to turn this puppy off and my amp to change. In that case, I would actually change the trigger here to switch on bypass. So you can program any of these channels to do a trigger, to trigger something on bypass, which is neat. I hope you understood that. I didn't get what that was for, but it's actually pretty neat. So now, clean channel, gold standard. I click A again, put the PXL Pro in bypass. Every pedal is bypassed, but the channel would have switched on your amp if you wanted it so. Okay, so we go to 5A again. You hold mute in. So we got the high ones, the low ones, the triggers in bypass. EN. Well, that is for your trigger momentary or latch situation. A momentary trigger means it's sending a signal, go on, go off, go on, go off. Latch means stay on, stay off. So it's pretty much electricity the whole time or none, or it just sends a signal, depending on your device. Joyo doesn't know what device you're using, so they give you both options so you can switch that. And then there's, of course, the polarity for the trigger is light on or is light on off, which you change for every program. So each trigger is, of course, either that way or that way. So let's program one sound so you kind of get what I'm talking about. The sound I want is the rated boost, so that's number 2, and we kind of have to know that. So on low, we're going to turn this one on. And on high, I want just the delay, which is this one. Okay, now I also want the headroom to be on. Actually, and I want the delay to switch to sound number A, which means my trigger 1, ET, has to be on, and you see the delay switched. And my trigger 2 has to be on, so the headroom is on. It switched on. my trigger 4 has to be on because I want a lot of reverb, which is the setting A, which is trigger number 4. Ta-da! To save it, hold down the mute button. So I'm going to go to setting this. Okay. Anything here? Of course, no, that didn't work. A. Let me check. Okay, it works. Sometimes I'm not sure. So, there we go. I go to my sound, and we've got the delay on, the headroom is on the right setting, and the effects are here. Whew. Anything still confusing about this? I think I was pretty clear. Leslie, what do you think? I just get a shrug. Oh, you asked me where do I have the power for this? Can you come down? Oh, it's in the back here. Can you see? I actually have two power supplies. So I got this one and this one. Got two next to each other because there's too much stuff going on. So that's and you see it's actually pretty neat. And because I have the right cable length, not too many cables hanging around except for this one, which I still have to fix. So that's so much for this. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I guess that's really all I can tell you about this. The trigger outputs, you program them on and off, bypass on and off, you switch the polarity or the momentary, which we just have to play with it a little bit, depending on what device you use. But I'm switching two different switches on the headroom. I'm switching the A-B select on the D seat, and I'm doing it all with one touch of a button here. It's off, it's off, it's off, it's off. Oopsie. I'm going here, and there it goes on, there it goes off. Everything you possibly want. So I think the best thing to do is play through this puppy for a few minutes, show you a couple different sounds, and prepare to answer 4.7 billion questions from you on YouTube, even though this video was supposed to explain this all. But hey, it's what I'm here for, right? That's what I don't get paid for. Okay, see you nerds in a sec.
Thank you.